Welcome to Fandom Beat. It's time for another Behind Anime Lines, and today I am joined yet again by Catie Wayne.
Hello.
Fandom Beat's own Catherine Wayne, who I'm sure you recognize her face at this point from Friendship is Recapped and all the voguing that she does all the time in front of cameras. Today we are talking about Wolf Children, which is one of the most beautiful animated movies ever, and not just visually. It's like beautiful right here.
Right in the feels.
Right in don't say feels on my show. Anyways, yeah, let's check it out. So Wolf Children.
I liked it a lot.
Wow. Right out the gates with it. Yeah, I really did too. And it's interesting because I've seen some of Hosoda's other stuff. He's the guy who did Summer Wars and The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, and actually the Digimon movies, which I don't know if a lot of people know. And he's got a few like iconic things that are through lines from like Summer Wars and the Digimon movie, like that red line art and stuff that you see in the sort of dreamy sequences at the beginning and end of the movie. But this is really different from his past stuff. So I guess let's give people the premise for people who aren't familiar with Wolf Children. I mean, it's kind of right there in the name.
Yeah, but this girl who has children that
Hana,
turn into wolves. Yeah, Hana. And they turn into wolves because she fucked a werewolf.
Pretty much, yeah. Gently put.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she meets like she's like young in her like late teens, I guess, and she meets this like werewolf
early 20s
dude
maybe.
in college, and he reveals that he's a werewolf to her, and then like the movie sort of quickly like they do this thing a lot in this movie where through montage they cover a pretty big chunk of time. So like they have a montage of like her getting to know the dude she met in college and them like falling in love and stuff. And they have a montage of the kids growing up.
But they also have a montage of like her getting pregnant and like being pregnant and then giving birth by herself.
Right.
And that is all really interesting. I really liked that part. I don't know why. I really liked the part where, I mean, I just thought it was cute because she's all like obviously super sick from which like kind of gives the idea that like, I mean, it's different for every woman, but I would imagine having little half-breed wolf babies inside of you, it would be like every day of your life.
You don't want those clawing around in your gully works. But no, I love the way that like, for like great example, the pregnancy montage. The way they tell the story is through these cut together strings of short, like almost 30-second vignette moments that are just like, it's a very slice of life movie, you know? Like it's these very beautiful, oddly realistic things. Like for such a outlandish premise, I think that they keep it really grounded and really realistic, and it's like, this could never happen, obviously, but if it were to happen, this is how it would happen. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, I found myself really quickly growing attached to Hana and to the kids. Like I think that they just did some awful genetic experiments in A/B testing and just was like, we found the cutest possible thing ever, and it's half wolf baby, anime babies. That's it. Like it's like nuclear grade cuteness. It's not even fair. When you first see Yuki like coming up and like yelling at her mom and like and like the ears pop up, it's just like it's ridiculous. Not even fair.
The little nose. Oh my god.
I love the way that they're illustrated, and it's like, I don't know. It's something about the vibe of this movie was just so. It felt really like personal and authentic and emotional, which is not something I've gotten from this dude's past movies. Like Summer Wars is, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like it's cool, but it's like a really superficial movie, and I liked it, and I thought it was really fun, but I also thought it was a little dumb, and it certainly wasn't super heartfelt for me. But this movie really was. Like, I just was constantly. It was one of those movies where I just felt weirdly like I was on the verge of crying the whole time for no reason.
I did cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understandable.
I cried at the end, which I don't know if we're gonna like venture into spoiler territory. But I cried at the end. Yeah, and there's also a scene in there's a character death really early in the movie that I think is like, it is handled so tastefully and so well. Like everything from the sound design, like there's a scene with a character holding an umbrella and the rain just gets louder. And
it's such a graceful, elegant movie, but I think the director's background is maybe why he's able to do a movie that's this quiet without it ever being boring. Like I felt like even though it was a really subtle movie, I was never bored, and the pacing kept up, and there was always things happening, and I was never like, all right, this scene's going on too long. Like, they nailed that stuff. No,
it was great. It seems like from the beginning, they're going in a very clear direction with the characters, and then right at the end they just kind of like swap. Like it's like their destinies have been swapped.
Totally.
And it's like their personalities are different than what you expected and what you were explicitly shown and told that they were.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see them grow and morph into people, because that's kind of what happens in real life. Again, it's like this whole crazy idea of this could never happen, but if it were to happen, this is probably how it would fucking go.
I love that too, because it feels really in line with the way kids actually grow up. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about. There's this constant struggle for the two wolf children about whether they're more human or wolf, and watching them like sort of battle with that, sometimes literally battling each other about that, is just like, that's great, because like the movie's realistic in practical ways. Like, you've got the fact that like these kids love to eat, and just like all these awesome little character details and these really beautiful looking homes that we see that feel really like something about all the furniture and architecture in this movie is just so realistic and beautiful. But then it's realistic in the way that it treats its characters, which is just as important.
I love the way, I absolutely adore Hana. I love this idea of this woman that has just fallen madly in love with this like mythical beast and bears his children, and then he's not there to help her anymore.
Right.
And she's just struggling, trying to do like she's doing what every mother does. She's just doing the best she can with what she knows to make her children's lives as great as they can be, but she's in like a very special circumstance of not being what they are. So she doesn't have any idea of like, is this wrong or right? And she's just so she's so patient. She's just so unconditionally patient and caring and loving.
She hustles so hard. Like, she works her ass off for these kids, and it's so beautiful and so maternal. And like, there's so many great things about her character too, like the fact that she talks about how, in the movie they talk about how when she was young, she was told to just smile through even like the hard times and stuff, and you see her do that too.
Yeah.
You see that in her character, and it's just, I love her as a mother in this movie.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. She's amazing and beautiful, and I love her. And then like her acceptance, her perpetual acceptance of who her children are is so glorious.
It's genuinely super touching.
Yeah, like, oh man, oh.
And it's funny, because you brought up like her struggles with not knowing how to raise wolf children, because she's like fully human. And she does a lot of things in an attempt to help herself with that. Like, she goes to a conservatory where they have like a caged wolf. And it's funny, because when you describe that situation, it sounds absurd. It's a mother bringing her son to go talk to a wolf through a cage, and she talks to the wolf like very sincerely, and removed of all context, it's an adult woman looking into the eyes of an actual caged wolf and asking it for parenting advice. But in the context of the movie, it never feels silly. It feels really genuine. I mean, we watched it together, and I remember there was one moment where you laughed a little the first time I think she kisses her husband, and you're like, because it's a brave thing to do to show an adult woman kissing what appears to be just a regular ass wolf, right? Like, it's hard to do that and make it not come across as goofy. Exactly.
Goofy.
But 9 times out of 10 in this movie, they go for really brave things with this whole animal-human dynamic, and they pull it off the vast majority of the time. I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's probably good that like so early on in the movie they did show kind of that little bit of a goofy image, because I mean, and also it's one of those things of how do you animate an animal talking but still make it believable?
Yeah.
And that's really hard.
When
in fact,
a human voice is coming out of it.
Yeah. The only time that I've ever really like been sold on that kind of image is in Princess Mononoke, where the animals are just making vague like mouth shapes. Like, they're not really actually saying anything. It's just the language, it's implied that the language is understood. Like, and but they very early on, he's like talking, but he's like got this big old muzzle, and he's like, "What do I look like to you?"
Yeah, I remember that scene, and it's funny because that's not really how they handle it with the wolf children.
Yeah.
They're and I think because they're half human, half wolfman, they're not even really werewolves. Although they pretty quickly explained that werewolves in this universe do not work the way they do in Legend. There's no full moon bullshit, none of that.
They're not like bloodlust.
Yeah, but these are like half wolf man, half human. So they're statistically even less wolven than most werewolves are. And I think that is reflected in their appearance, because even in their wolf form, they don't look as wolven as their father did. They've got like human hair, and they always have their coats on or whatever, which is a really cute character detail. I love their little scarves. So let's talk about, because you also mentioned how animal speaking is handled in Ghibli films, and I feel like in a couple significant ways, this movie aims for some of the same vibes as a Ghibli film. Just from the incredibly detailed character moments that are just there to add to making this universe feel real, and like everyone's a little clumsy and everything's depicted realistically, to the score, I feel like. Oh yeah. And these sort of montages of character music strung together by one beautiful orchestral piece.
The dreamy sequences with like the glorious fields and...
It's just funny because as someone who's watched most of Hosoda's past movies, I didn't necessarily get like a Studio Ghibli vibe, but looking into it further, apparently he was originally supposed to direct, Howl's Moving Castle. Oh! That was originally going to be this guy, and so clearly he's like aware of the Ghibli, all those films.
Vibe, yeah.
Yeah, and it feels like they sort of more directly go for that here. But just in general, like, what do you think of the animation in this movie?
I thought it was lovely. There were points where they were very brief moments where it was a little bit wonky to me.
Faces and stuff?
Yeah. More specifically, like when they would do really far away shots. But there was something so beautifully simplistic about the way everything was drawn. Yeah. That I found really, really appealing. Totally. I really liked it.
And those simple character drawings are pretty interesting because they're such a stark contrast to like these gorgeous backgrounds and environments. And it actually reminded me of a movie that we covered on the show before, Garden of Words, where there's just like these beautiful, like just the way that they depict grass and leaves and water and nature in this movie is so appealing and so detailed.
Oh yeah, that whole sequence when they are experiencing snow for the first time.
Oh my god, yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yes,
beautiful.
Yeah. There's one specific shot in there that's like a first-person shot from one of the wolf kids' perspectives of running through the snowy forest, and I was just like, this is one of the most beautiful pieces of animation I've ever seen. I don't know, I came away from, I went into Wolf Children maybe unsure that, I knew I would like it, but I was unsure whether I'd love it. But this is my favorite one of this dude's movies, hands down. I like actually can't wait to watch it again. It's like beautiful is the only word to describe it, I think.
Absolutely.
And with that, we are actually going to be putting Behind Anime Lines and all of Fandom Beat on pause for a little while. Now, what exactly that means for each of our individual shows, we're still in the process of figuring that out. In the meantime, though, the one thing that you can do for sure is follow each of us individually on Twitter. I'm twitter.com/Babylonian, and anything I do next involving anime will absolutely show up there. Catie Wayne is twitter.com/Catie Wayne, and Adam is twitter.com/WhatAboutAdam. Follow each of us on that website, and you will get updates on each of our respective shows. For my part, I know that I am absolutely not done making anime videos on the internet. It's something that's super important to me, and this show has been just the most fun ever. One of the things I'm most proud of making ever. For my part, I definitely need to thank Maxwell Wink, my producer, for being super helpful at every single step of making Behind Anime Lines. I want to thank Matt LeBate, our executive producer, for giving us a chance and believing in us and letting us really take a stab at making this show. I want to thank, I guess, Matt Pignol and Liz Ruiz for shooting it, and everyone actually who helped shoot it, because we had a lot of different shooters over the course of the show, and for just being so instrumental in developing the look and feel of Behind Anime Lines. I want to thank Jeremiah Williams and Braith Miller for tirelessly editing this show into something watchable every single week. We definitely could have done without them. I want to thank Neat for providing the music, one of my favorite musicians of all time. Neatmusic.bandcamp.com if you want to hear more of his stuff. It is like one of my favorite albums of the year is his album Infinity, and you've probably heard it in last week's show and this week's. And then obviously this wouldn't be complete without thanking each of the individual amazing guests I had on over the course of the show, just some of the most passionate anime fans and experts and enthusiasts and personal friends of mine. I could not be happier with the set of guests that we got to have in over the course of this show, and this show just could not exist without their expertise and their enthusiasm, and I thank them like endlessly, because without them, none of this could have happened. But yeah, if you want to keep up with me, like I said, twitter.com/Babylonian is the best place to do that. I'm also on Tumblr, babylonian.tumblr.com, which is where I've gotten to interact with a lot of you guys, a lot of the fans, answering questions, and just sort of talking to the community of anime fans that I was so quickly thrown into. And yeah, this show, Behind Enemy Lines, has been probably my favorite thing I think I've ever done in my career on camera, and I absolutely am going to do more anime stuff in the future. That's the only thing I know for sure. In the meantime, though, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm just super grateful to have gotten to make this show. I am extremely proud of every single episode of it, and I can't wait to see what anime thing we do next. But yeah, thanks again. See ya.